After a hectic week I've had recently, I'm finally back for some more videos, and I thought, why not return with another video about Queen? I mean, if you've been following this channel for a bit, you know how much I love Queen. And so I thought, why not go back to my comfort zone and talk about my favorite bands? And I thought it'd be fun to do a little ranking. And no, it's not the albums, it's actually going to be their opening track. So I went through all the albums and I ranked every first song on each album from my least favorite to my favorite. And yes, I am including Flash Gordon. Yeah! Don't get too excited, Flash. As always, it goes without saying that this is all just my opinion. You can agree, you can disagree, it doesn't matter. This is just how I personally put this together, so hopefully you still enjoy this. If you are new to this channel and you love Queen, please give the video a like, subscribe if you are new, and without further ado, let's jump right into it. Coming in at number 15, and to me this was the easiest choice because to me there's really one very weak Queen opening track, and that of course is Party from The Miracle. And if you want, you can include Khashoggi Ship. I don't know if I pronounced that right. I didn't care for that song either, so I never bothered figuring out how to pronounce it. And yeah, you can combine those two because they do blend into each other. But yeah, I never cared for these two tracks. They're kind of there. They are never one of my favorite Queen songs to begin with. And so I will admit I do skip both of them in order to get to the third track, The Miracle, which is a far better song in my opinion. And yeah, there's just something generic about them. I just can't put my tongue on it. It's just, just not their best stuff in my opinion. But we go on to number 14, and at 14, I'm gonna go with It's a Beautiful Day from Made in Heaven. It's pretty good. I do like it. It's kind of a nice like song to kind of set you in the mood. Very moody, kind of atmospheric. And I do like Freddie's vocals on it. Definitely sounds pretty nice. It fits the theme that they're going for. But again, it's not one of my top tier Queen songs. I don't go for this track very often. So again, it's fine, but again, not one of my favorites. And then moving on, we have Staying Power from Hot Space. And yeah, I actually do enjoy Staying Power. I think it's a pretty fun track. I know people are going to disagree with me on that. But again, I never hated Hot Space. I've always had a soft spot for it. And Staying Power is pretty good. Now again, I will say, I've said this in prior videos, that I do prefer the live versions. They really up the rock factor when they do it live. The studio is still pretty fine. It's got a nice groove, it's got a nice beat to it, got something danceable to it. But again, compared to the other songs on this list, again, it's just gonna fall kind of short, but again, I still do like it. And then moving on, I'm gonna go with Play the Game from The Game. And yeah, I do enjoy the song too. I do like it does start with that kind of futuristic synth sound, which, you know, it makes sense because this was the first album where they did incorporate more synths into their sound. Yeah, I do like it, and then Freddie's vocals is pretty nice too, and Brian May has a pretty good guitar solo. But yeah, it's a solid track, but again, there's songs I just prefer more. And this is where I'm going to actually pull out a record for this. I'm going to go with Mustafa from Jazz. And, you know, when you first hear it, it is very odd. You know, definitely the most out there because, you know, you have some Middle Eastern terms. Of course, if some, you know, you hear Allah mentioned a lot in the track, which, you know, again, you hear it and you're like, what is this? But after a while, I will admit, the more I hear it, the more I kind of get into it. I do like the music behind it, and I think it's actually kind of fun. It's kind of a fun, odd track that I actually do enjoy to an extent. And I think it's a pretty fun way to open the album. So there you go, that's Mustafa at number 11. And then at number 10, I'm actually going to go with Flash, the theme song, which, you know, I've always liked the theme song, which I will admit, I never saw the movie, but I did hear it in TED. That's kind of how I found out what Flash Gordon was. And of course they played the theme song, and I thought, oh, that's kind of a fun theme song. And at that point it never clicked that it was Queen who did it. So there you go. It's just a pretty fun opening opening to the movie. I do like the Flash, ah, you know, that whole thing. And I love the bridge where it slows down, and I really love Freddie's vocals in it. And you hear a little bit of Bryan as well. And I just think it's a pretty nice song. Definitely one of only 2 highlights on this soundtrack, I must say. Okay, moving on, going to A Kind of Magic with One Vision. Another great song. I love the guitar riff, but before that, you do have a pretty good build up to it. And yeah, it's just got this big driving rhythm to it, and very big sounding, and you can tell they really were having fun. Of course, if you watch the little documentary of the making of One Vision, you can tell they were really trying their best on this one, and they definitely had some fun moments too. So yeah, I've always liked One Vision, always a good track. All right, and then moving on, I'm not sure if this will be a controversial pick, but number 8 right now, I'm going to go with Queen 2, and of course I'm going to combine, let me just see, hopefully I said this right, Procession and Father to Son, because kind of like Party and Khashoggi Ship, they do blend into each other. So I thought, you know, why not just blend it together? Because to me, they were always one track. And yeah, I've always enjoyed. You have Procession, which again is kind of the short like intro. You know, you have Bryan on guitar, sounds really cool. And then you have Father to Son, which is a great, very heavy track at moments too, especially when the guitars really kick in. Just a great way to set the tone for a terrific album. Of course, I love Queen 2, so had to get this pretty high. Of course, there are some songs I actually do prefer more. And the next one I'm going to talk about is from this album, and that is Death on Two Legs. Of course, you have that ominous, creepy, haunting intro with the piano. Then it just keeps building and building till you hear this guttural scream, and then it goes right into the main track. Yeah, the guitar playing, the piano playing, and Freddie's biting vocals and very slanderous lyrics. Just absolutely killer track. Great way to open this one as well. From this point on, these are just like classics right here I'm talking about. Okay, next at number 6, I'm going to go with Brighton Rock from Sheer Heart Attack. Again, really, Brian May's guitar is the big MVP of this track. He's just all over this track. Of course, you have that extended guitar solo, which is just legendary, and Roger's drumming on here is great. It could be higher, but the only thing that holds it back just a little bit is I'm not too crazy with how the sound of Freddie's vocals. The high pitchiness of it, not really my favorite, but the musicianship really make up for it. So I still had to put it pretty high. So that's number 6. And then at number 5, we're gonna go with Tie Your Mother Down from A Day at the Races. Yeah, again, you have a nice, cool build up. This it's guitar. I want to say it was guitar. I'm just going off the cuff right now. But then you have the main guitar riff, that you know, and of course Freddie's vocals just killing it. He's putting more grit into it, and even the bass work on here is pretty good. If you really hear John's bass work on Tie Your Mother Down, just a great bouncy, really driving bass line, and of course the drumming is top notch too, and very catchy chorus too. So a very fun track as well. I'm not sure if the subject matter is pretty fun, but whatever. Alright, and then number 4, again, this is another, I'm not sure if this is another controversial pick, but at number 4 I have We Will Rock You. Of course, a classic, anthemic masterpiece, of course played in every sports arena. You hear that boom, boom, bah, boom, boom, bah, and that's enough to get you hyped. Of course, Freddie's vocals, another classic performance, and you have the legendary guitar solo by Brian May. It's short, it doesn't stick around for too long, and it just goes right into We Are the Champions, which if you can make a strong argument, you can combine those tracks if you want, but for this, I think We Will Rock You stands on its own just enough. So number 4. Okay, then we have the top 3. Number 3, we have Innuendo. Of course, the title track, just this big progressive rock epic, kind of like the, you had March March of the Black Queen on Queen 2, you have Bohemian Rhapsody, and then you have Innuendo. Just a great trilogy of those big prog epics. If you want to put Bohemian Rhapsody as a prog, some people do. I'm not sure if most people do, but I wouldn't argue with that. But yeah, just so many different passages. You have the main melody, that big, that guitar riff, and all the different parts. You have Steve Howe on the track providing a flamenco solo on the Spanish guitar, and even when you have Brian May coming in with the electric, just so many elements on here. It's just absolutely epic. Then we get to the top 2, and this might be another controversial pick, but for me, number 2 is going to be Keep Yourself Alive from the debut. Again, it's a great hard rock number. Again, you have that great guitar riff from Brian May, and there's just so many things. It's a perfect way to start a career, I must say. And, it was released as a single. It didn't do much, which is kind of a shame if you think about it. But, nowadays it's kind of considered a classic in their early period. And yeah, there's just so many elements I love. I love the bass playing, the vocals, I already mentioned the guitar, but I do love, Roger, I do love when Roger does have a drum solo, and I love that part on the bridge where you hear Roger's single line, I should say, and then you hear Brian following up. Just you have a little combination of everything on Queen. You have the riffs, the vocals, and the bass line. Everything is summed up on their first song, which a great precursor on what's to come in the future. So that had to be number 2, had to be pretty high. But yeah, number 1, again, I'm not sure most people will put this song at number 1, but it's been one of my favorite Queen songs for a long time. And if you've been, cross eliminating my picks, then number 1 to me is going to be Radio Gaga from The Works. Again, I've always enjoyed this song. It's always been one of my favorites. I just love the feel of it. It just has this kind of nostalgic sort of sound to it, which makes sense because it's about, looking back on the radio and how important it was back in the day. Obviously not as much nowadays, but I just love that feel to it, and the synthesizer, the bass line as well, both synth bass or actual bass from John, just sounds absolutely catchy. And I love, of course, you have the classic chorus, the whole "all we hear is Radio Gaga." Just another anthemic moment, especially when you see footage of them performing it live. It's just a marvel to look at when you see all that sea of people just clapping along to it and singing it back, especially the Live Aid performance, of course. But yeah, it's just a song I've always go back to. It's one of my most played Queen songs, and it's definitely a song I'll keep playing every once in a while. Overall, I think Queen has had a lot of great opening tracks. Maybe there's 1 or 2 that maybe aren't as strong, but for the most part, they know how to open an album right. And it's been a lot of fun ranking them from my least to my absolute favorite, and hopefully you found this entertaining. If you did, please give this video a like, subscribe if you are new. In the comments below, let me know which one of these was your favorite, or if you want to rank all 15 of these tracks, then feel free to do so. And until then, I will see you in the next video. Take care and goodbye for now. Thank you.